I love baseball, but it's hard for me to get excited about watching the Cardinals play the Pirates because the Pirates are so bad, right? So when they win, and I'm just telling you how I feel. When the Cardinals beat them, Adam Wainwright shoves, by the way, happy birthday, Wayno, 40. We'll get to that. I go, okay, that's what you're supposed to do. But they're not really exciting games because the Pirates are a AAA team, which makes it worse when they beat you twice out of 4. And Jim Heuer, you have 2 more kind of, I don't want to say historic, but awful losses. We always go, is that the worst? We go back to that Reyes game. We now have in our hopper about 5 games that are potentially the worst. Now you go back, Genesis Cabrera clearly tipping pitches. He's allowed to throw 6 straight hits, which is crazy. And then the Cardinals win a couple games. They're going for the series win. Yesterday, I'm going to pick my wife up at the airport, and I'm listening to the game on the radio. And 9th inning, we all know Alex Reyes. He's an all-star this year. He's been great. He's gassed. He's overused. He walks a ton of people, which you also knew eventually was going to catch up with him. And I'm listening to that game on the radio, and I just, okay, there's another runner. There's another one. And then when Mr. Yoshi comes to bat, I just think to myself, this guy Yoshi, by the way, he only hits against the Cardinals. He only hits, I looked this up, he only hits against the Cardinals. When he came to the plate, I thought to myself, the Cardinals are probably going to lose. And John Rooney, boom, crack of the bat, and he hits that one a mile. Game over. Game over. Listen to these stats, by the way. Yoshi Tsutsugo, who's played for 3 different teams this year. Okay, versus the Cardinals, here's the slash line. 353 average, 455 on base, 1176 slugging percentage, 4 homers, 10 RBIs in 9 games. Okay, his total stats this year, 192 batting average, 284 on base, 369 slug, 5 homers, 18 RBI in 51 games. He's literally only good against the Cardinals. He just hits a home run every time he plays the Cardinals, which is why when he came up yesterday, I'm listening on the radio, I go, this is not good. And fellas, it was not good.
Another collapse. That's all we can say. Go to that number again. What was that? 4 home runs in 9 games?
So in 9 games, remember, because he just got picked up. He was with the Rays and I believe also the Dodgers.
Yes.
So in 9 games, he has 10 RBI, and a lot of these he's been pinch hitting in some of these appearances. But 4 homers, 10 RBI in 9 games. So basically, the other 40 or so games he's played this year, he's had 1 homer and 8 RBIs, and he's batting like 100 something.
Burn that book you have on him and start over. That's the way to start.
I just seriously can't figure it out, because even Mike Schultz said in his post-game comments, I don't know if you were able to hear that, but somebody asked him about Yoshi Tsutsugo and why he's so good against the Cardinals, and he literally said, I don't know, historically he's, not, but now you tell me that, right. And I'm like, well, obviously Yoshi knows something that we don't know, or even Mike Schultz knows, because he's got the Cardinals pitching all figured out.
Well, we found out that Cabrera was tipping on Thursday, because he was not going to be used at all yesterday or the rest of the weekend. But maybe Tsutsugo is great at figuring out who's tipping pitches, because he crushed that thing.
Oh, right. I know. It was a complete no-doubter. I mean, it was just insane. And even Alex Reyes saw it. I mean, everybody did.
So did Danny Mac.
Yeah,
not happy.
I know. Danny Mac's call was so sad on that.
Oh, it's depressing.
It was just like, and it's gone. And I
People
felt that because I
Twitter.
think that's literally what everybody else was feeling too at that exact same time.
No, people were chirping him though for not being because even they said
they were
people
chirping him.
Yeah, on Twitter about like not having some sort of like enthusiasm, even though it's not your team.
When it is your team,
I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's how you do it.
I'm just saying.
That's how you do it.
And the other thing is, everything is setting up for the Cardinals to win the wild card. Even though the second wild card, I should say, all these other teams cannot win. The Padres aren't even good anymore, right? Mm-hmm. And the Reds, they're opening up the door. Now we have a big time series where the pitching matchups here in Cincinnati. I'm very excited to watch this series. The pitching matchups really favor Cincinnati, but who knows? But if you can't consistently win series against the Pittsburgh Pirates, you split with them. You lost the previous series. I know they're still only 3.5 games out, but man, If you flip that, if you take what? That would have been, if you take 5 of 8 from the Pittsburgh Pirates or 4 of 7, whatever that number is, you're probably what? 2 games out. These teams they're leaving the door open for you. Nobody wants to win this second wild card. And the Cardinals cannot beat the dang Pittsburgh Pirates. And right now they're 3.5 games out behind Cincinnati. You have San Diego in front of them. They're a game and a half out of the second wild card. I've forgotten about the division. We all should. Philadelphia is a half game behind the Cardinals. So nothing's really changed. The Cardinals still have to win this thing. They have to beat Cincinnati, San Diego, and Philadelphia. But at the end of the day, even if some craziness happens because nobody wants to win this, the Cardinals just aren't very good. They just aren't. You're not very good if you can't consistently beat the Pittsburgh Pirates that are 48-83. They traded everybody. They're not even trying to win.
They even got rid of Polanco in that finale. They literally sent him down and brought up Cole Tucker. I mean, it's just... And Polanco, basically, the reason why is because he was frustrated with fans and all that kind of stuff. And Polanco's been pretty good for him. So that just shows you where the Pirates are right now. They don't even care about their good players out there. And that, I mean, on paper, you look at that. You look at the schedule and you're like, okay, easy wins. This is the Cardinals.
But do you actually think that? Because I don't think you can.
Well, not anymore.
Not anymore.
I know
right.
you can't.
Everything's a struggle. I mean, it was a struggle to watch them do their thing this weekend. They put up 7 runs in the first 3 innings of the whole series and ended up losing the game. You go, wait a minute.
How is that even possible?
Yes. And then you see what happened yesterday. You have a 2-run lead in the 9th inning against a journeyman who hits 1 home run in how many games against other people? And he crushes one, and you lose the game on a walk-off.
There's no
not
bullpen depth.
Yeah, it's so much wrong. I'll ask you this, though. I'll bring this up. I agree with your thought process of 100% that they're not that good. But there's a month left of the season, right? Did we think the same thing with a month left of the season in 2011?
Don't you dare say 2011.
No.
Okay, but the names, though.
I mean, you're right.
I don't get the same vibe, but I'm just bringing it up because you go, yeah, I felt that same way going, you know what, they're just spinning in circles. They're barely around 500, and then something happened. I don't think there's a chance in heck that this is going to happen with this group, but we prolong the agony because there's still a chance.
There is, and here's the difference, though. Let's just start position players. So that team, you got Yachty, you got Albert Pujols, you have Lance Berkman. David Freese was obviously unbelievable. You have Matt Holliday, Alan Craig when he was really, really good. Go to the pitching staff. You had Chris Carpenter, an absolute ace. And then at the trade deadline, Tony La Russa got exactly what he wanted and needed for that team to succeed, which was, in one case, getting rid of Colby Rasmus. That was not working out. And also, give me 1 million relievers. Give me 1 million relievers and even just somebody like an Edwin Jackson that can give me a start. And I know the Braves collapsed. You needed that as well. But the Cardinals also got exactly what they needed. We said this 3 months ago. We said what the Cardinals need, we always go back to 2011, and we probably will forever. What the Cardinals needed in 2021 was that same trade. They needed to add 4 relievers, right? They needed to add 3 or 4 relievers and just any body with a pulse that could throw 6 innings. Now, I know they added John Lester and Jay Happ, but that's the difference to me. Is these bullpen guys are gassed. And here's another part of this. I know with Matheny, a lot of folks always said, oh, he ruined Seth Maness. He ruined Matt Bowman. All due respect to those guys, those two, I think they were probably happy to be in the big leagues. They weren't big-time prospects, okay? Here's the difference. I think this year you are frying legit arms that you want to have for the next 3, 4, 5 years. If you're going to do anything in 2022, you need Alex Reyes, Gio Gallegos, and Genesis Cabrera to be like they were the first half of the season. I truly believe they're being used so much right now that this could hinder them in the future. I mean, am I wrong?
No, I agree with you.
And so who is that? Who do you think that's on?
Well, that's on the front office of not basically getting Mike Shildt help. The other thing is, what are you supposed to do if you're Mike Shildt when you're still trying to win a baseball game? I guess you could say, look, we're just not throwing these guys. And here's the argument that is a really awkward argument in baseball, specifically with pitching. When you have to shut down Steven Strasburg, the fans go crazy, right? When you shut him down, that was probably, even though they could have maybe won a World Series, for his overall health, that might have been the best thing. Look at Matt Harvey. Was Matt Harvey ever the same after he threw a billion innings in that World Series year? So again, maybe Matt Harvey could have been a Cy Young caliber pitcher for the next 7 years if he wasn't pushed that way. I really believe with the big three, we're getting to a point of overusage that it should not surprise us if there's injuries next year or if they're not the same.
Don't disagree with that. Time will tell, but time also, if you go back in history, tells you it's right around the corner. I mean, there's no doubt. Hey, look, there's two things. One, yes, it's on the front office, but I also think it's a learning experience for the current manager that, hey, you got to learn to push harder. That was one of the things about Tony, because you brought it up during the conversation just now. Tony kept pushing, I need this, I need this, I need this, I need more relievers, and they finally went and got it. The current manager has got to be take a little more action and constantly just go up there and knock on the door and go, hey, you got to get me some help. Hey, you got to get me some help. He can't, I think there's part of him going through a process of learning those things you got to learn as a manager to all situations, right? He's had to deal with, well, guys are terrible, how to deal with that. He drives us nuts when he call a guy out every once in a while. Nothing, not saying he's awful, but it's okay to say, hey, he's struggling. We need better. That's okay, but he doesn't do that. He's also got to learn to go knock on that door and just keep pushing. If you want to survive in this game as a major league manager, go look at the ones who have survived. Dusty Baker, Tony, all the great ones. They know when it's time to go knock on the door and go, hey, you got to go get me some help here. And maybe he's not comfortable with that yet, but that's going to be part of the process.
Well, he needs to be, because it's putting him in the hot seat right now, because fans – and look, I get it. I see it all over Twitter. Fans are upset. They don't like the way that Mike Shildt talks in the postgame. They want him to be sometimes a little bit more fiery, all that stuff. And so it would be really interesting to actually know what his relationship is like with the front office. Is he going and pushing them? Is he not? It doesn't seem like it, because like you said, it's almost like he's like Ted Lasso, too friendly a little bit. Too much of a player's coach, which is a good thing. But also, in this circumstance, is it actually helpful to this group? Because they need somebody who's actually going out there and fighting for them for what they need. It's very clear that they need more healthy arms.
And Cam, you like that style, though, the golly gee, though, right?
I like the golly gee. I'll tell you this right now. I like when they work their butts off and do that. And, they let in 6 hits and, 1 inning. Golly gee, they worked hard. I mean, what do? I'm getting sick of it. I'm sorry.
I love it.
And I just listened to the post game. I was like, damn it! I just want him to get pissed. He didn't even get mad.
One of the things he said yesterday, he referenced, well, we only got 4 innings out of our starter, and I went, yeah, but you knew that, right? You knew you had a guy who was on limited pitch count. Mm-hmm. So whose fault is that? Is that your fault, or is that the management's fault for not getting you a fresh arm? Somebody there's got to take responsibility for that, because you knew going in that KK was going to be lucky to give you 4. If you got 5, it was Christmas Day. I mean, come on. That you knew that was going into the game. That was the scenario that you were going to be faced. So, I mean, then you went down the line and you knew you weren't going to use Cabrera. They should have done a better job of setting that up.
And Mike Shildt has for months now. He has made not so subtle comments about we need help. Even when he says yesterday, I'm paraphrasing, when he says, we're getting about the best performance we can out of this group, that is him saying, I'm doing the best I can with what I have. Mm-hmm. I have 3 relievers. And I know they've added a couple guys, Luis Garcia, that have been pretty good. But overall, he's telling the front office, in a nice way, though, that I needed help. You didn't really get it for me. Okay, you got John Lester, you got Jay Happ, but then Jack Flaherty gets injured, Wade LeBlanc gets injured. They have had 1 million starting pitching injuries this year. That is part of it. All of baseball is really injured this year, especially on the pitching side, because of the weirdness and the shortened season and the stop and start of 2020. But I agree, Jim, with what you said, where when you talk about the old school managers, I think a lot of front offices, they don't want that guy because they want somebody where it can be a brain trust of the front office and the field staff, and it can really be a combination in decision making. And the old school managers that you mentioned, a Tony La Russa, a Dusty Baker, go back, Joe Torre, whoever it is, those folks had world championship equity. They had skin in the game equity when you've been a manager for 20 years, and they could basically demand in a way, whether it's through the media or knocking on the door, go get me players. And I think modern front offices, they want more of a guy that I don't want to say they can completely control, but isn't going to be the face of the team. Like, I don't think they actually want a manager. Tony La Russa can be the face of a team as a manager. Yep. Dusty Baker could be the face. Mm-hmm. Go back
John Tortorella.
Right.
Yeah.
Big-time head coaches. Go back to, I mean, I know I'm going way back, but Earl Weaver, Billy Martin, guys like that,
Earl
Joe
Weaver.
Torre. Those guys are huge personalities. I don't think front offices want those type of guys. They don't want their manager basically calling them out publicly and saying, get us players.
Kevin Cash is a great manager, but he's not the face of that franchise. But
exactly.
You know what? Just run him in, run him out. We saw it in the World Series. As much as I hate to bring it up and single him out, the fact that he said, this is how we do things, I'm not going to go beyond our formula, and it probably cost them a game by taking Snell out of that game in Game 6. We all know that. But he said, well, this is what we do. Sometimes you got to, as a manager, you got to step outside the box. So we're going to do something a little different here. I'm going to be in charge instead of just, here's the formula. Oh, we're on plan A today. So this is how we do it.
A lot of people.
Hey, can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to ask the text line, too. Like, is his job on the line right now, Schultze?
I don't think so.
You don't think so at all?
No, I really don't.
Okay.
He's frustrating, and the fans don't like to hear that. But for this exact reason we just stated, he's doing everything they want him to do. They know this, and we all know it. Sitting here in this conversation, we know they're not that great. So, I mean, if this was a team that was, I don't know, had a record close to the Pirates, then we'd say, yeah, he's got to go. But they're still right around. They're a little bit above 500 right now. That's not going to get him fired.
To me personally, I look more at at the front office. At what is this an organizational problem? Because look, I feel like we thought, or at least they tried to paint it, that Mike Matheny was the problem for a little bit, and that's what was really going on, that he just wasn't managing things properly, the players, anything like that. And then we bring in Mike Shildt. Oh, he's doing well for a little bit. Look, we solved the problem. Well, we're kind of repeating a lot of the same mistakes that we've made in the past. So is it really on the managers at this point, or should we look at the organization as a whole and say, okay, whatever philosophy you guys maybe are pushing through is not working, and that there needs to be a little bit more of a checks and balances system, as you mentioned there, where the manager could say, look, this is what I need. I'm the one that's out there with these guys every single day, and I'm telling you, this is what this group needs to be successful.
Yeah, I think when you go back to Matheny, now a lot of this is hindsight, but many people brought this up. When you look back, one of the mistakes, even though Mike Matheny had tremendous regular season success, you had the NLCSs, you had the World Series, I think when you look back, you realized how great that Cardinals team was. Coming off the 2011 World Series, they just won it, and they were really, really good, 12-15. When you have a roster that is ready to win a World Series, and remember, they almost did still. They go NLCS, World Series, NLCS appearances, 12, 13, 14. But that roster that could potentially win a World Series, that's probably not the roster you give to a first-time professional manager. Is that fair to say? Mike Matheny knows baseball. He was a catcher. I mean, he's smart and all that. We know he had managed Little League and all that. But looking back, you probably don't want to give a team that could win the World Series that very next year, because any manager in their first time in professional baseball, let alone in the big leagues, they're going to make mistakes.
I don't know where to go with that, because Dave Roberts was kind of the same guy, and he's been really good with the Dodgers, but he's kind of his own guy, right? He does his own thing. He's done things differently where he's not afraid to mix and match players. I'd never got the sense that Matheny was ever that guy. That's why Colton Wong couldn't become the player that he is now in Milwaukee. Colton Wong didn't become the player he is now until Mike Shildt showed up. So, I mean, that's one of the positives with a guy like Mike Shildt. But Matheny, in terms of what you're saying, there was a lot of questions there, and they're still there in Kansas City.
Text line, 855-282-8255. The Bo Weevil of Bevo Mill says, Shildt going nowhere, like Michael Scott Matheny. He's a first-time manager in the MLB. No other managerial, well, he has managerial experience in the minors, a lot of it, but I get what you're saying. John Mozeliak doesn't want another TLR. He wants no pushback. Let's see here. Spartan 4-4 says, we all thought the hitting coach would lose his job after the past 3 lackluster seasons and the players calling him out prior to the All-Star break. But here he and his lack of offense, they're still there. And by the way, Ryan Ludwig's hanging around, I noticed, the last couple of weeks at Busch Stadium, helping out with hitters. And that's the thing. If they're not going to fire Jeff Albert, now maybe they do this offseason. Who knows? And that's where, Cam, you bring up a good question, because it's fair to have the conversation of should Mike Shildt be on the hot seat. I think that's absolutely a fair question. I just don't think he's going to be fired. I think the Cardinals are okay, big picture, with what happened this year because of injuries, because of, like, John Mozeliak also knows. He knows they didn't go out and get a ton of arms for Mike Shildt. He knows this. He's not dumb.
No. He does have a bow tie.
He does like his bow ties. Well, he kind of switched it up with a red vest for a little bit. Yeah, that was interesting. But yeah, and so then that just, to me, that brings into question once again, what is that relationship like with Shildt and the front office? Is it just very much like with the front office, John Mozeliak, of this is what you're going to deal with and hope it works out? Let's see if you're really a good manager, like if you can make something out of this. You know, I mean, I would just be so interested to know what that actual relationship is like. And also, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but this morning they actually announced, the Pirates announced that they fired their hitting coach.
Yes.
and mind you, they beat the Cardinals yesterday. And I just think that's insane. So, yeah, they fired their hitting coach today after beating the Cardinals yesterday with a walk-off winner.
Right. It's just funny that the Pirates, why are you even trying? Right? I mean, why even make that move? You're not even trying to win. You've traded everybody. You traded Adam Frazier. You traded Richard Rodriguez. But God bless the Pirates. They're still, in theory, I mean, to make a move to fire the hitting coach, at least they're still watching the team. Yeah, I would think some of the front office folks are probably getting ready for golf season or already into it.
They got a nice ballpark, man. I'm not going to lie.
They have an awesome setup.
It's awesome there. And when you hit a homer and it goes, like, even like getting there is easy, and the city's nice. I like that. I kind of like what Pittsburgh has as far as the color scheme, their arenas, the ballparks. They got a good thing going over there, but their team sucks.
Black and yellow, baby. All the teams. Okay.
Tune.
After all that negativity, this is what we do every Monday. Every Monday we say the Cardinals are not very good, but Mr. Birthday Boy, Mr. 40 years old. It's nice when you go to Baseball Reference. They always say your age and then how many days. Yeah. So Adam Wainwright, it says age 40 with 000 days. That man turned 40 years old, and he's still out there getting her done. He had the win over the weekend. He's the one guy you can count on to go 7 innings. So his record now, 13-7. He has a sub-3 ERA, 2.97, leading the league in complete games. He's right up there with Zach Wheeler in innings pitched, 169 and 2/3 innings pitched, 155 strikeouts. So there you go, guys. After all that negativity, we can continue to give Adam Wainwright his flowers because he's the one guy. He's really the one guy you can count on all season long to go to the post and do his job. And he has.
He is a special human being, and he does everything right off the field, too, which is like kind of too perfect. We talk about this. I don't know, Brooke, where you're at with that. Is he not too perfect for you? Don't you want him to kind of mess up, like just like have a little setback? Like, my gosh, he does everything right.
I don't know if I want to see anything
just
bad
a little
happen
one
to him. I don't know. I mean, yeah, he really does seem like the perfect human being. Yeah. I mean, and also he's my mom's favorite. And I told him that one time. I was like, just by the way, my mom doesn't know much about baseball, but she loves you. And he told me, he was like, well, you know, I seem to definitely have the moms on lock. He was like, you know, Matt Carpenter usually gets the younger women and stuff. He's like, the moms always love me. So he was like, that's my fan base right there. And it's so perfect. And that just shows you, because if moms love you,
and grandmas,
you know you got to be a good guy.
Well, my mom loves Charlie like no other. It's crazy.
There you go.
She knows
She's
when
missing
he comes
something.
on all the time.
Two perfect humans, Adam Wainwright, Charlie Marlow. No, it is funny when you bring up parents. So I've been here now 13, 14 years. And, my parents don't live here. They were here over the weekend helping out, babysitting. Shout out, Jim and Bridget. But so they know about the Cardinals, right? They're Tiger fans. They watch the Tiger games. But they'll come over like, Adam Wainwright, he's still here? And then it's always, Yadier Molina, he's still playing? Carpenter, now wait, is that the pitcher Carpenter or the hitter? Wasn't there two? Right? I mean, these guys are still here, which is give them all the respect in the world, honestly. Yadi, Adam Wainwright, pushing 2 decades. And that's why throughout all the negativity, where I just don't think this team is very good this year. Hell, even if they make the wild card, no one even deserves to get the second wild card. Really. I know the second wild card is good for baseball because it keeps a lot of teams in it. There are some years where there's probably 3 or 4 teams deserving that don't make the playoffs. I think it's fair to say that this year you could have had 1 wild card and nobody else really deserves to make it.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. It seems like everybody's doing everything but getting anywhere closer to that second wild card spot. I mean, it makes it interesting, though, when it comes to scoreboard watching, but it is a little frustrating to see where, as we talked about, you have the Pirates and all that stuff. It seems like there's plenty of opportunities to gain ground in it, and nobody's really getting to that point.
And so that's also when you look at the pitching matchups coming up here. They do not favor the Cardinals. When you look over the weekend, so now you have what? It's Lester, in no particular order. It's Lester, it's Happ. Who am I missing here?
Michaelis starts.
And Michaelis.
Yeah.
And you're going up against the studs for Cincinnati. You're going up against Luis Castillo, who's been really good lately, Sonny Gray, and also Miley. So the Reds were able to set it up where you're facing their big dogs. Obviously, Adam Wainwright pitched over the weekend. Flaherty's out. So we'll see what happens. And hell, could the Cardinals win this series? Sure. They could. I don't think they will. But this is just one of those teams where it's going to go down to the final week. Jim Heuer, the Cardinals are still going to be 3.5 games out. They're going to be 3.5 games out.
Wait,
and we're
Charlie,
still talking about it.
You're telling me that John Lester isn't one of our big guys?
Well, again,
are you doubting John Lester now?
I'm not doubting him. And if this was 2013, I'm loving Happ, I'm loving Lester. But if you look at the pitching matchups and you're facing a Luis Castillo, a Sonny Gray, and a Wade Miley, the Cardinals do not have the better end of the pitching probables.
I agree with you.
That's fair.
But what if we have that narrative in another month? Go, man, those trades to get those veteran lefties were awesome. Can you believe that?
Hey, they have helped. And
Happ and Lester were 7-1 in the month of September,
where you have a really tough schedule, by the way. Remember,
or they could say, hey, they were awful and they were 1-6 with an ERA of 7. So
yeah,
it could go either way.
More likely is they're right around average, and we're still having the same conversation exactly 1 month from now. Remember, we all talked about August. August was the gettable part of this schedule. This was Pirates Central. This was Tigers and Pirates. They did not take advantage of this schedule. And we just looked in the commercial break. Now coming up, it's Brewers. It's Dodgers. It's the tough part. They have a very difficult September schedule. So the Cardinals also did not take advantage of August, which is the month they're supposed to. And Jim, you mentioned Happ and Lester. So they go get those guys, and they needed them. What if they wouldn't have? Because basically the second those folks start pitching, 2 more injuries. 2 more injuries to Flaherty and LeBlanc.
Yeah.
Now they have to use those guys.
You could have had more Juan Oviedo instead. So you got to give them some credit for making the move, even though they were not the sexy picks, but they're working out for them.
You needed innings, you needed bodies to go up there and fill up innings. And look, if Flaherty doesn't get hurt, if LeBlanc doesn't get hurt, you also could have had another one of those pitchers in the bullpen. You could have potentially used, let's say, a J Happ out of the pen. You could have used a Wade LeBlanc out of the pen. So after all that negativity, though, guys, you still should go down to the ballpark. Why? First of all, it's a great time with your family. You got the concession stands. It's not going to be as hot in September. And you got the giveaways. How about the mystery patriotic baseball hat coming up on 9/11, on the 20th anniversary of September 11th. Right. So Cardinals hosting the Reds. This is 2 weekends from now. So that's the weekend of September 10th through the 12th. Great giveaways all weekend long. So on Saturday, 30,000 fans ages 16 and older will take home the patriotic baseball cap courtesy of Country Bob's. Which of the 4 styles will you receive? You got red, you got navy blue, you have white. It's a flag. You have the American flag, and then you have the St. Louis Cardinals logo where the stars are. Pretty cool looks here. So find out when you walk through the gates on Saturday, September 11th. For tickets or more info, visit cardinals.com/promotions. Jim Heuer, we can obviously go all the way through here and not take a 2-minute segment.
That is correct.
You have the reset coming up. What do you have on the program?
Oh, we'll revisit Illinois a little bit. We'll talk some Cardinal baseball. We also let the folks hear a little bit of the Seeing Red podcast, which was put out earlier today with Bernie Miklas and Will Leach. They'll talk a lot of baseball.
Very nice. Cam Janssen, anything on the notes section we didn't get to? We also, before Brooke sat down, and Jim Heuer, we talked a lot about
Grim Reaper,
excuse me. The Mets thumbs down, which I just love. Even though it's awful, I just love the fact that the Mets players are booing their fans. It's just so great. It's so petty. It's so unprofessional, but you see the comments and you just can't help but laugh.
Yeah, but you don't want to do that to your fan base.
Of course not.
You just don't. Like, your fans are your everything. And if your own fans hate you, then what are you? And again, and I said this to Charlie earlier, I go, even if he makes a ton of money, which he's going to do, if you go back in New York and the fans hate you, you're going to be miserable everywhere you go. And not to mention, they're going to know who your wife is, and they're going to be mean to her. Like, it's just not worth it. It's horrible. And I chirped him.
I also felt bad because, so I put the clip out on YouTube, and just happened to be that Javi Baez had his child on his lap when he's making the comments. I kind of felt bad for the kid, right? Because it's not the kid's fault. It's not the kid's fault.
The kid's literally being put in the middle of
right.
this.
And look, this is it's a daddy moment with the kid where we see this. The players like to bring their kids out for the press conferences. Cute little kid. He's sitting on the lap. And Javier Baez was asked very matter of fact about the thumbs down. I just felt bad that for all these clips where it's this big controversy, and Javi Baez, he explained it, and this is also his second language is English, so I think some of that there was a little bit of lost in translation. I just felt bad that for all these clips going viral all over SportsCenter, his cute little kid was on the lap the whole time.
He'll be fine.
The only thing that would have been worse is if he looked at his kid. What do we say to Met fans? And he would have given the thumbs down.
No, that would have been
they were like,
so funny.
No.
I would have loved that.
But this is what's great. I got to look at the schedule. The next time the Mets play the Phillies, Bryce Harper is going to hit a freaking bomb, and he's going to do thumbs down as he's rounding the bases. That's going to happen.
Yeah.
The fan base, they're going to crush him with signs. They're going to have chants. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, but when you do that, though, like, who are you? You have to build, like, when you do funny stuff like that, you usually build an army behind you. Now everybody just hates you, including your own fans. So it's like, you're just putting yourself in a corner. I don't know. I don't. It's good for us because we chirp the guy, but it's like that. It's just it's very bizarre. And again, man, like they're going to be relentless to your family and stuff. It's like not worth it.
Yeah, I understand heat of the moment things too, but when you're doing it against your own fan base, it's a little hard to excuse at that point.
It's kind of premeditated too.
Oh, that's my point. I'm not saying it's right. It's hilarious. No, when I saw that, I said, first of all, you don't ever need content on a Monday, okay? You have the whole weekend. We had all kinds of stuff happening. The day you need content is a Tuesday when the Cardinals don't play. Okay, so we're good. We got a good Cardinals game. Hopefully they win this game against Cincinnati. We can say some positive things. But usually on a Monday, you don't need content. But when I read that story about thumbs down, I just started laughing out loud. It's just so petty. These dudes make $340 million. By the way, neither of them, if you're talking about Francisco Lindor and Javi Baez, you also have Kevin Pillar. But the two big dogs, they're not even league average players. One's making almost $12 million. The other has a 10-year deal that hasn't started yet for $341 million. And they got together, and they thought it was a good idea to boo the fans that pay their salaries.
Don't you wish you could be a part of that conversation when they were just like, I just would love to. Like, do you think they even practice different gestures or anything like that?
What's the other rest of the team doing when they're doing that in the locker room? Like, hey, jackasses, why don't you stop? How about you all stop? You're making way more money than us, and you're making us all look foolish. How about you stop that? If I'm the rest of the team, I'm like, dude, stop. It's all about you now, and you're making a ton of money.